Good morning, Red Gum. And welcome.
I was waiting for you to say good morning, Vietnam. I just thought it was going to come out.
Morning, Vietnam.
I love the fact that we've got all the same little uniforms on, the check shirts. It must be a Red Gum thing, isn't it?
It is.
We're going to have to get Chelsea
way
to
we
help
roll.
us. Yeah, with a little bit better sort of coordination.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then it'll be spiker tops.
Yeah, that would be good. So welcome, everyone. It's great to have you here this morning. If you have had a very busy week, so has Red Gum. There's
Yep.
been a lot of stuff happening in the fire recovery area every day. We've even been able to get hold of by a wood splitter. And Jordan and Pete have been splitting wood. There was a working bee on Friday splitting firewood for people. And Mark, do you want to tell us about what was happening yesterday with the working bee?
Yeah, we had a great day. There's quite a big turn up there, and it was a lovely day. God put on a nice day for us. So we came to this lady's place called Jan, I think it was. Fantastic property, 200 acres, but the poor lady had lost a house and lost a shed and fences and everything. Yeah, it was horrible. But we were able to maybe start to chop a few trees down. I did entertain everybody by
So what were you doing?
chopping a tree down.
Yes.
And I got my bar stuck in the tree. I scarfed it this side and then it fell the other side, Lex.
So technically that was like a big mess up.
Yeah, it was for
Bit
me
like my
anyway.
last week with my chemical thing that didn't work. Yeah.
Yes, it was. A bit embarrassing, but at least gave Jeff Raymond the confidence. He did the next one and he fell it perfectly.
Well done,
so-
Jeff. Yep, fantastic.
But no, look, Lex, it was great.
Yep.
It was fantastic just to help this lady.
Yeah, well, we're really making a difference in the community, and that is, I think, the bottom line. And so thank you for Mark for sharing a little bit about that. This morning is also Kath Raymond's birthday, and we have someone here this morning that just wants to wish Kath a big happy birthday. So over to you, Jeff. Always taking the glasses off.
Happy birthday to my dear wife. She must be 32 again today, I think.
Jeff loves his little moment in the sun. So, in fact, Kath, I understand that you actually got a 300 Winchester Magnum gun for your birthday. Not every girl gets one of those for a birthday, so that's incredible. So what we're going to do is go to Red Gum Kids for a moment. We've got a little song there, and then we're going to come back to you, Steve, and you're going to lead us in a worship song.
Sounds good.
Yep, fantastic.
Trust God with all of your heart. Lean on your own understandings in all of your ways. Acknowledge Him, He'll make your path straight. Trust God with all of your heart. Lean on your own understandings in all of your ways. Acknowledge Him. He'll make your path straight. 'Cause I don't wanna walk in a zigzag or stumble around in the dark. God's way is always the best way, so I'll trust Him with all of my heart. And trust God with all of your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. All of your ways. Acknowledge Him, He'll make your path straight. 'Cause I don't wanna walk in a zigzag or stumble around in the dark. God's way is always the best way, so I'll trust Him with all of my heart. And trust God with all of your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. All of your ways. Acknowledge Him, He'll make your path straight. 'Cause I don't wanna walk in a zigzag or stumble around in the dark. God's way is always the best way, so I'll trust Him with all of my heart. And trust God.
Okay. How's that? Hope you enjoyed that, kids. We are going to sing. We're going to sing When You Walk Into the Room. So here we go. When you walk into the room, everything changes. Darkness starts to tremble at the light that you bring. When you walk into the room, every heart starts burning. And nothing matters more than just to sit here at your feet and worship you. We worship you, oh. We love you, and we'll never stop. We can't live without you, Jesus. We love you. We can't get enough. All this is for you, Jesus. When you walk into the room, sickness starts to vanish. Every hopeless situation ceases to exist. When you walk into the room, the dead begin to rise, 'cause there is resurrection life in all you do. We love you, and we'll never stop. Can't live without you, Jesus. We love you, and we can't get enough. Oh, this is for you, Jesus. Come and consume, God, all we are. We give you permission, our hearts are yours. We want you, we want you. Come and consume, God, all we are. We give you permission, our hearts are yours. We want you, oh, we want you. Come and consume, God, all we are. We give you permission, our hearts are yours. We want you, oh, we want you. Come and consume, God, all we are. We give you permission, our hearts are yours. We want you, oh, we want you. We love you, and we'll never stop. We can't live without you, Jesus. We love you, and we can't get enough. Oh, this is for you, Jesus. Oh, this is for you.
Thanks, Steve. Really love you leading worship. Enjoy it. Yeah.
Thank you.
This
Great
week,
fun.
this week I got some really good news. Barry, our friend in South Australia, he got good news. And when it's good news for someone in their life, when a doctor's report a diagnosis or test results come back as it was for Barry, and you've got the all clear, Barry, we were just so excited to hear that for your sake. And we just thank God for what he's done in your life. This week, we're going to just have some fun with the concept of laughter. And I think back to last week, and I had this little science project going on, and it didn't work. It didn't work. In fact, 3 times it didn't work. And the good thing about that was it actually helped to create a little bit of laughter for some of you. And the thing about doing live streaming is that it's slightly dangerous, and we're sort of drawn to danger. Things can go wrong. And when things go wrong as far as our live streaming and images dropping out, that's really stressful for our team, and we're working really hard on that. We've got some new technology today, so I hope that fixes the problem. But we're sort of drawn to danger. And I was thinking about this live streaming, and it's a bit like watching someone on a tightrope walking thing. You know when they string sort of a high wire thing between 2 15-storey buildings and someone walks across. If there's a safety net just beneath it, well, it's still fun to watch, but if there's no safety net, if it's just concrete all the way down, you've got my attention. And I think that's the thing with this live streaming is that things can go wrong, but it's real. And we want to keep this element to it as we go forward. But I have to go back to last week. I got it wrong last week, and I'm going to get it right today. I'm convinced. And so last week I was doing this little thing. So I'm going to show you here. And what I was trying to do is show that when anxiety comes into our life, it has a big effect on our life. And it comes in and it changes things within us, and it affects every area of our life and our reactions, our responses to things, how we see things, how we interpret information that's given us. That has a big effect. But we were looking at how that love, perfect, completed love, Christian love for each other, has this capacity to actually push out, to drive out and get rid of anxiety. But the thing about this love that we have for each other, it can look so ordinary because it comes through just ordinary human beings. But here's my big moment. When God's love through us comes into our lives, it changes and can drive out and didn't that work beautifully? Yes. Small little applause, just a little bit of a yes. Thank you. So that's what was meant to happen last week. It finally got there this week. So thank you for giving me my moment to redeem myself, sort of. But laughter and joy and fun is part of life. It's part of a healthy family. It's part of a healthy church. And I was thinking back this week to a moment in the life of Bairnsdale AOG many years ago, and we had a new pastor and his wife come to town, and we wanted to welcome them. So we put on a bush dance. And I thought I'd contribute to the bush dance, the supper that was happening, by making some lamingtons. But I wanted to make them slightly different. Instead of making them out of cake, I made them out of foam rubber. And I cut them up and made them just look identical to how you'd make a normal lamington. And I dipped them in the chocolate icing stuff and sprinkled and rolled them in all the coconut. And I took this plate of foam rubber lamingtons and put them on the table there. I didn't say anything to anyone. And I was hoping that the new pastor and his wife would sort of munch into these things and discover that they weren't normal. But I didn't know they didn't like lamingtons. But there was an old bloke in the church that loved lamingtons. And I watched him, and he went and got one, and he carried it back to his seat, and he sat down, and he sort of bit into it, and it's going like this, and he turned to the person next to him and said, "My false teeth aren't working," you know. And he grabbed it, and he didn't think anyone was watching, and he just gently put it down under his seat and sort of threw it on the floor behind him, right? But we did that to because laughter and fun and joy, it's part of life. And we wanted to make that part of that night for our new pastor and his wife. If you look at the big concepts of the Bible, you'll find many of them are actually established in the very opening chapters of Genesis. In that first book in the Bible, God unveils big things like marriage, the concept of marriage, of sort of the consequences of sin, even this sort of amazing covenant that he established with Abraham is in there, the rulership over the earth that God gave to us. And so all these big concepts are there, but tucked in amongst all these big concepts is God's little surprise thing that would be really easy to overlook. And I'm going to spend the rest of the day looking at that. And it is described as a gift that comes from God, and it's laughter. And it's not just a response to something funny. We can laugh when something's funny, but this is a gift that God gives us. And it has amazing benefits. Now, last week, if you watched Kip Damper do his little trivial contest, it was funny. If you didn't watch it, go back and watch it or rewatch it. But this is what laughter will do. And Kip, thank you for helping us laugh, because this is what, Kip, you did for us last week. And this is what laughter does. It reduces your blood pressure. It reduces anxiety or negative emotions. It boosts your immune system. It is a natural antidepressant. It helps you breathe better, helps your respiratory rate work better, helps you oxygenate your body. In fact, it even helps your cardiovascular system. It even reduces the chance of a heart attack. It calms stress hormones, it burns calories, and it even increases the production of HDL, which is the good cholesterol. But you knew that, didn't you? Like, if you've read Proverbs 17:22, you would know that. Like, because 3,000 years ago, Solomon told us, and he wrote these words, and he said, "A cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones." And isn't that true? I had a friend in Sydney who we bred koi fish together for many years. And it was summertime. I was going over to his place to help him sort out some little fish down the back of his place. And fish ponds are very noisy. There's air bubbling away, there's water flowing. And I didn't realise as I walked up this Saturday afternoon, when I got to him, I'm about just half a metre behind him. And I suddenly realised, because he's got his back turned to me, he hasn't heard me. And I'm standing with almost touching distance of him, and he doesn't know I'm there. And I was caught, well, what do I do? If I say, "Hi, Terry," it's going to give him a fright. But what do I do? And I'm trying to work out if I just stand there, he'll just somehow naturally work out I'm there and it'll be okay. And then I saw his legs under his shorts. And he had these little fine hairs on his legs, and this one hair was just too tempting for me, and I reached forward quietly and I just grabbed this one hair and I plucked it out of his leg. And I'm telling you, if you don't think white men can't jump, that day Terry I think I reduced my blood pressure more than I reduced his blood pressure that day. And this concept of laughter, of fun, of joy, we sort of really bump into it in Genesis chapter 21. And in there, Sarah, who's Abraham's wife, she gets this revelation about laughter, and it's recorded in there for our benefit. She experienced it, but it's recorded so that we could get to know how God values laughter. And this is what it says. This is what she's saying. "God has brought me laughter. It's his gift. He is the source of her laughter." But to understand the significance of that statement, God has brought me laughter, we've got to go to the backstory to understand why that was so significant. Because Sarah and her husband have sold up everything they have. They've felt God calling them to go to this promised land. They've left their friends, they've left their family, they've left all their dreams behind, and they've followed God off into the deep, wide blue yonder, right? And at that stage, Abraham's 75 and Sarah's 65. And God's promised that he's going to build this nation from them, that they're going to have children. But the years go by and nothing, no children. And somehow they come up with this brilliant idea to talk Sarah's PA into having a child with Abraham and creating an Ishmael. And it seemed like a good idea at the time, but it didn't go well. And it still hasn't gone well historically for our world. The tension between the Jews and the Arabs can be traced right back to this one brilliant idea they had to try and create what God had promised, but they did it their way, and they created an Ishmael. And at the time of God coming back and speaking to Abraham about this promise he'd given them 24 years earlier, he says to them, Abraham, don't forget, I'm still going to give you a son. In fact, in a year's time, you're going to have a son. Sarah is going to give birth to a son. And he just laughed. He just laughed. But he didn't laugh from joy. He laughed because he's skeptical. He laughed because he didn't believe God. And then another little short time later, God reappears to him and tells him the same thing, sort of encourages him, retells him. But this time, Sarah overhears. And Sarah, she starts laughing, and again, skeptical, disbelieving, disappointment. And God hears her laugh. And he says to Sarah, why are you laughing? And she says, I didn't. She lies. She says to God, I didn't laugh. And he goes, fibber, fibber, fibber. I know that you have laughed. And she tries to cover up this sort of sense of being exposed for not trusting God. Now, when Sarah heard this promise from God, she doesn't believe. And it's possible to be a Christian and to believe God about certain things, but to be skeptical and not believe him over promises that have not come true in your life. Things that you've thought God would say and things that now seem impossible. And you as a Christian actually don't believe God. And if someone asked you, you would possibly say, well, I do. And you'd even lie to yourself or lie to other people. And Sarah gets exposed. But I want you to watch what happens. Because 12 months later, she gives birth to a son, Isaac. And it wasn't dependent upon her faith. It was dependent upon God's grace that's bigger than our faith. If you've become a Christian at some point in your life, you got there not because of your great faith, but simply because you responded to an initiative that God has put into your life, a little setup, some people you met, some Christians you came in contact with, some people you started to think, maybe there's something that my life could benefit from if I could actually step into this thing called Christianity and a relationship with Jesus. But it's not based on how much you bring to the table. It's based on what he brings. And so this little boy called Isaac is born. I don't know if you know, but the name Isaac, which God told them to call this little kid, means he laughed. He laughed. And every time Sarah would call her little boy Isaac to her, she'd be saying Isaac, but what she's really saying is laughter. He laughed. Come here. And she had this sort of in her face thought all the time. She referred to him as Isaac, that God created laughter, that laughter is God's gift. And that's why in this verse that I read out a few minutes ago, this is the fullness of the verse. And this is why she says this. She says, God has brought me laughter, and everyone who hears about this will laugh with me. They will experience this joy. I find it fascinating that in this very first generation of God's promise, that he's got this big, huge plan that he's going to benefit all the nations in the world through Abraham. And he does it through a child. The first child to start this new generations is a child called laughter. We, growing up, our girls would get friends over to stay at different times. And when our daughter Mandy was about 12, she invited a friend to stay the night. Now, in our house, there is one toilet. It's at the end of a little passageway, and there's just a laundry, and there's a toilet, and sort of separating the toilet to the rest of the laundry is just a sort of like a fuzzy little glass wall. Well, I forgot that Mandy had a friend staying for the night. And it's a long time since I've worn pyjamas, if you understand what I mean, right? And about 1 o'clock in the morning, I crawl out of bed, my fuzzy half sleep, and I go down through the passage, and there's no light on in the laundry, this little passage light on. And I go into the laundry, I go around this little glass partition, and there, sitting on the toilet, is Mandy's friend. And I'm standing in front of her, starkers. And I looked at her and I said, hello. And she says hello to me back. And I just walked out of there and went back to bed, feeling like an idiot. Well, the next day when she got home, she told her mum. And she said, Mum, he's so hairy, right? And it's just one of those family stories that has never been forgotten, if you could understand why. And there's another thing that I just want to share, which some of you would possibly know, because I spoke about this at Redgum one morning. But when Coral and I were first married, about a year into our marriage, I'm lying in bed with her one night, and I had this, what I thought was a really great idea to share with her. And I thought I could reassure her that if she died, I would be okay, because I would marry Kerry. Kerry had been an ex-girlfriend and she wasn't going with anyone at the time. And so I've come up with a great solution that if Coral dies, which I'm telling her, like, if you die, it's okay, I'll marry. Well, that wasn't our best moment in our first year of marriage. The reaction that I got, I was not expecting. And it's funny now, but it wasn't funny then. It wasn't funny when I was standing in front of Mandy's friend, but often laughter can be found on the other side of our mess-ups. And it's actually a gift in those moments. It's a healthy place to be able to laugh at ourselves, at the things we do wrong. But not everyone finds that easy, depending upon our personality and our life experiences. Growing up, I thought my dad, there were two things that he didn't have. He didn't have a taste bud in his head, and he didn't have a sense of humour. In fact, I thought Dad had no sense of taste, because no matter what Mum cooked, he told her it was beautiful. It was lovely. I can remember sitting down eating burnt custard one night. It was really burnt. It tasted burnt. And Dad just looked up and says, oh, Beth, I'd love this custard. It's got this lovely caramel flavour to it, right? But I also found that Dad didn't have a sense of humour when I was little. Like, he was serious, he was task-focused. Because when he grew up, his dad was an outback stockman and only came home to Brisbane every 2 years to be with the family over Christmas. And the rest of the time, Dad had to be the little man of the family, take on responsibility. And Dad didn't really grow up with a childhood as you and I may know it. But see, the work of the Holy Spirit in Dad's life changed him. And I saw through my lifetime Dad changing, and his sense of humour became amazing, and he loved to laugh. Now, as we grow as Christians, our ability to laugh will grow with us. A mature Christian is someone whose laughter and joy is full. We don't become grumpy old men or women as we grow as a Christian. It's the opposite, because there are 9 fruit of the Spirit, and one of them is joy. And you can't separate joy and laughter. If you're full of joy, you're full of laughter. And Job's friends got a lot of things wrong. But in the story of Job, there was one friend that got something really right. And he prophesied this over Job, and he said this. When Job's going through a hard time, he says this: God will yet fill your mouth with laughter and your lips with shouts of joy. Laughter, joy, they go together. Laughter's contagious. It changes the atmosphere in a family, in a work environment, as a group of friends, in a church. it's just this amazing gift of God. When our family would gather and we would start to tell stories, Dad would start to laugh. And when he would laugh, the tears would roll down his face. He could nearly not breathe. And then we would all start laughing at Dad's laughter. And the joy in the room was because Dad was having joy. And that's how Dad grew. And by the time Dad died, my strongest memories of Dad laughing in family gatherings. Solomon wrote these words in Ecclesiastes. He says, there's a time to cry and there's a time to laugh. There's a time to grieve and a time to dance. Have you ever tried to not laugh in a serious moment when you're not meant to laugh, in a time that you're not meant to laugh? And you're trying to hold it in and you're sort of just keeping it in until you look at your friend and they are having the same problem. And the moment you lock eyes, it's gone. The laughter just bursts out because see, laughter is meant to be shared. If you are sitting in a room and something funny happens and you laugh looking straight ahead, it's not really deep laughter. But when it's really deep, amazing laughter, you want to share it. You just want to look at someone else. You just want to, and your eyes lock and you can share it together. And that's the laughter that God gives us as a gift. When I grew up at Donald in the Wimmera Mallee, we went to the local high school, and the high school was, well, it seemed a long way away in my little boy's mind back then. It's probably not as far now if I measured it, but it might have been like 1 or 2 Ks from where we lived. And so I would ride my bike to high school, and I was in year 8 at the time when this happened, and normally I'd be late for school. But I can remember this morning I got up and I thought, I'm going to get to school early. My family wasn't up. I just got up and had a little breakfast, got on my bike, got my uniform on, school uniform, little tie on, and I rode to school. Now, to get to Donald High School, I had to ride through the main street. It's all deserted. I'm early to school. I get to school. I'm so early that I beat everyone to school. There's no one there. And I'm just waiting and waiting, and I didn't have a watch, so I just kept waiting and waiting, and it seemed like people should be there and they weren't. And so I can remember going over there was a guy that was mowing the school lawns, and went over and said, no one's here yet. What's the time? And he looked at me and says, hey mate, it's Saturday. It's Saturday. Now, that was bad at that moment, but what got worse, I had to ride my bike in my school uniform with my little school tie all the way back through the main street of Donald just after 9 o'clock when it's all busy, full of people, and I couldn't hide anywhere. And my embarrassment that day has stayed with me for the rest of my life. So I'm glad you can enjoy a little moment of laughter at my expense. But laughter is this gift from God. And if we can unwrap it and appreciate it and value it and use it, it has this amazing benefit in our lives. Because life is filled with moments when things go wrong. But if on the other side of those moments we can discover this gift of laughter, it can really be good medicine. Now this morning I've invited Coral to come, and I just want to share something that happened this Wednesday. So come over here, Coral, grab a little mic. Yep. Coral loves these things because she doesn't exactly know what I'm going to say. But come here. This is just an ordinary moment, but I just want to share it with you. On Wednesday night, we had our Zoom Connect meeting, right? And then after that, we watched a bit of TV. And while we're getting ready for bed, Coral was fiddling around. She takes a lot longer to get ready for bed than I do. And so she gets a little cup of tea and she's going off. She turns the electric blanket on. She does all those things. And so I finished watching TV and Coral's still fiddling a little bit, but I just went into the bedroom, jumped into the bed. It was not on. The bed was stone cold. And I don't like cold beds. And I started squawking and whining and whinging. It's cold, it's so cold. And what did you do? You just started laughing. You did.
lots of laughing.
And
It was hilarious watching him be such a wuss.
well, I was suffering deeply, right? And she just, all you did was laugh at me, right?
did.
So this is my question on national TV to the rest of the world. Why did you laugh?
Well, I just thought the situation was extremely hilarious.
Yeah, but see, Coral, you have been through 2 pregnancies. You've given birth to very drawn-out, difficult labours. You, of all people, should understand what a man is going through in that moment of sheer... It's terrible to hop into a cold bed, and you just laughed at me.
I did, and I enjoyed it.
But what was the benefit of your laughter upon me?
Well, in the end, you couldn't help but start laughing with me
Yes.
because you saw how funny you were.
Well, I wasn't funny. Like, it was serious. Like, that was a big deal, right? But, yes, so laughter does help if we can do it in the right way. And you're meant to be kind and gracious, but it helped to put some reality back into me, didn't it?
It did.
Yep. So thank you, Coral. How would you like to disappear? You've done your bit. And we're going to put it back to Steve. Thank you.
Well, that came about quick. Thanks, Lex. Thanks, Coral. That was good. All right, we're going to sing Here Again. Can't go back to the beginning. Can't control what tomorrow will bring. But I know here in the middle is the place where you promised to be. I'm not enough unless you come. Will you meet me here again? 'Cause all I want is all you are. Will you meet me here again? 'Cause all I want is all you are. Will you meet me here again? As I walk now through the valley, let your love rise above every fear. Like the sun shaping the shadow, in my weakness your glory appears. I'm not enough. I'm not enough unless you come. Will you meet me here again? Oh, Father, 'cause all I want is all you are. Will you meet me here again? Not enough unless you come. Will you meet me here again? 'Cause all I want is all you are. Will you meet me here again? Not for a minute was I forsaken. The Lord is in this place. The Lord is in this place. Come, Holy Spirit, dry bones awaken. The Lord is in this place. The Lord is in this place. Not for a minute was I forsaken. The Lord is in this place. The Lord is in this place. Come, Holy Spirit, dry bones away. The Lord is in this place. The Lord is in this place. Not enough unless you come. Will you meet me here again? 'Cause all I want is all you are. Will you meet me here again? Will you meet me here again? Will you meet me here again?
As Solomon said, there's a time to cry and a time to laugh. And you might be in a season where you don't actually have much to laugh at. I just want to pray for you that God would bring back, like to Job, joy and laughter. That would be part of your life experience again, if that's a season right now when you can't see anything that would be anything remotely like laughter. I just want to pray for you. Lord, I thank you that right now, as people are watching and listening to this, that your life-changing, miraculous, supernatural power can reach into people's lives. And I speak healing. I speak the return of joy and laughter, deep joy, Lord. That would be the fruit of the work of your Holy Spirit, that the dryness that comes through seasons where there is no laughter would go, Lord. That you would restore joy and laughter to us in our life, to our experiences, that we would see it as your gift, that it's something that you've brought in, even despite the circumstances. You can bring laughter in when there's almost nothing to laugh at. And so, Lord, I thank you for this gift, that we would cherish it, we would fan it into a flame, we would foster it, we would encourage it, we would use it to change atmospheres in families, in workplaces, wherever we are, Lord, that we would seek to enlarge and grow this gift that you've given us. We'd unwrap it and use it. So if you're going through a moment, a time, a season where that's far from your expectations, well, God brought a little child to Sarah and Abraham when they couldn't even imagine it. They just laughed at the thought of having laughter, and yet you did it. And I thank you for, it's not just about our faith, it's your grace that does these things. Thank you, Lord. Well, we're going to catch up with you guys next week, and then coming up really soon, we've got a live worship night, haven't we?
We do.
Oh,
Yeah.
The last one was brilliant, and I'm really looking forward to this next live worship night. So we'll let you know a little bit more about that. Join us for Zoom if you want to on Wednesday night, and we'll catch you next week. So thank you.
See ya.
See ya.